November 16 of 2024 marked a new era for Cipsoft, because here is where a massive deletion wave started, which was very unexpected, since it was finally doing something about macros and bots in the game. Keep in mind, since Battle Eye got introduced, most of the cheating in the game has been pretty tame, especially bots were almost gone. They still existed and probably still do, but it was very basic type of bots. However, something that was far more common was the use of macros, which in this context is used to refer to a series of predetermined actions with pressing one hotkey, and one of the most used macros most likely was for loot. Before of the current version of quick loot that grabs from all the creatures around your click, people were using a macro that was pretty much doing the same thing, and lots of them always used the justification that others were using it too, so it went unpunished forever and eventually got introduced in the game as a proper feature. And with the recent deletion wave, I believe it might have something to do with the amount of people that were using that back then, being perhaps far too many to delete, because the second and third most common use for macros was for using UHs on a specific target or a sort of makeshift smart casting for runes, and the other was for equipping mind rings and stunning skin amulets, in some cases almost with perfect uptime. Both of these were being used quite commonly, and that is what has resulted in the greatest deletion wave we have ever seen. In just 2 weeks, over 70,000 characters have been deleted, a vast majority in the 1 to 1k, but to the surprise of many, plenty of characters between 1k to over 2k were deleted. And don't get me wrong, the surprise doesn't come from them using macros. As I said before, it was unfortunately a bit too common. But what is truly surprising is that Cipsoft still went ahead with the deletes. The amount of time and money spent in some of the characters is life-changing for a lot of players. And again, I'm not defending the players that got banned. I just feel like it's unheard of from a company going against what other games would call whales. But it did also come with lots of uncertainty, especially with how fast the wave was going and how many characters were being deleted as days went by. Even more so because during this whole time, Cipsoft kept quiet about it. Obviously the players knew and it was a hot topic for everyone, but we didn't get any official information from Cipsoft, so it became a guessing game and a scary one at that, because rumors and accusations started popping off. Lots of people claiming to be innocent, others admitting what they had likely been banned for, and this continue on. I didn't want to farm this drama because for one, I didn't have anything to add. Nobody truly knows what exactly was the reason for deletions, and without an official statement, I wasn't going to make comments about it. Then on the 28th of November, finally we got that statement. First, acknowledging the main reason being unofficial software, with their commitment to finally fight against it. And most importantly, the announcement of in-depth investigations on cases that might have been false positives, which for the longest time it was the main concern of players. Even those that technically had nothing to fear were still uncertain of what will happen, and those that were claiming to be innocent were very vocal about it. So there was, and possibly still is, quite a few of false positives, and they were being treated equally with the same automatic support messages. That is probably the main reason Cipsoft had to come up with a statement and address this. Then next up, the main questions people had, is it allowed to use the buttons of your gaming mouse? Because again, a lot of people were getting deleted from allegedly using their mouse buttons with other softwares. Because unfortunately, the Tibia client does not recognize the majority of gaming mouse buttons, possibly not even a single one is recognized. That forces people to use another programs to match the buttons to one from the keyboard. So far, the most common use by the majority of the deleted players was AutoHotkey. This is likely because it was a program that allowed the creation of macros. Cipsoft's response says it's okay to use the buttons as long as the classic rule of one action equals one button is respected. This has been a long-lasting rule, often referred in the forums by official members, because it's the easiest way to describe what is good to use and what is not. If pressing one hotkey does more than one action, then it's considered a macro, and you will be in a risky position. The second response sounds silly if you read it without context, but it was necessary for them to address, because multiple of their support staff responded to emails that quickly became viral for Tibia standards because of their bad words usage. Left room to wonder if using the scroll wheel too fast was getting people deleted. So they are coming up with a response to this, declining that you can get banned from using the scroll wheel too quickly, as long as each turn of the wheel is only doing one action. My example will be scroll up for healing a spell and scroll down for mana potion. That is considered okay. However, they also reaffirmed that setting two different actions in one hotkey is considered a macro and will lead to a deletion. Using the same example, if you scroll in one direction and it does both the healing spell and drink a mana potion, that is a no-go and will be labeled a macro. Leaving that aside, the deletion of characters has not stopped. It seems it has slowed down, but it's still ongoing. So if nothing happened to you, congratulations for being a good boy. I consider this a win for Cipsoft, although I'm clearly biased since nothing happened to me or my friends, but being completely fair, it has always been clear that using any sort of macros was a risk, and people got too comfortable downplaying the risk of it with the amount of people using it. This should make you think twice and question how much are you willing to risk. That is all I got for this video. Consider subscribing if you like the Tibia content. Thank you for watching, and a special thanks to the supporters of the channel, the guild causality from Quidera, Nice Star, and Tuna Hero.